guys, welcome back to the channel. I've bought a new project. I have no idea what it's going to be like. Here it is. So this is a Volkswagen Polo bread van. It's just because of the shape of the back of it. They call them bread vans. This is bought as a project. I don't think it's been on the road for a while. It's got a bit of rust here. Apart from that, I haven't really seen much rust on it. It seems pretty straightforward. The only thing that's not going to be straightforward about this is the engine. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it was bought from a guy at this company here. I don't know if they want their logo on there, but yeah, it's had a full exhaust system put on it. It's pretty straight. I mean, there's a little dent here. I mean, not awful. I could probably pull that out in places. Very minimal rust. There's a tiny bit of rust here too. But the interior, pretty nice. I mean, it's okay. You see a lot of parts around this car. Yeah, there's a lot of parts floating about, and I'll show you why. So this is the main reason I went to buy this car. So under here, nice gas strut as well. That's a nice touch. This has had a 1.4 16 valve engine put in it, I think from the newer Polo, but the guy never got it running. He's done everything. He's done the throttle cable, he's done the drive shafts, the gear linkage. It's basically ready to go apparently, but it doesn't run. You can't. It's a mobilizer issue, ECU issues. So my favourite things as well, ECU issues. That's a joke. But yeah, let's get it off the trailer and see what we've got to do to get this thing running. I mean, if this runs, this would be a fantastic car. It'd be like the classic look of the bread van, but with the modern reliability and speed of a new Polo. So if we can get this going, this would be a great little runaround for someone, maybe even for me. Alright, so here is the Volkswagen. There's got a wiring loom in the back, I think, for the original Polo that the engine came out of. I don't know if we're going to need any of that, because he has put the wiring in, the engine wiring loom in there, I think. I assume these are old Polo parts. But yeah, it's not in bad nick. Interior's pretty nice. These door cards are quite nice. I quite like this grey with the blue sort of dashed stripes in it, the same as the seats. Seats are, I mean, they need a clean up, but they're pretty good. There's a radiator fan missing. I mean, it's not missing, it's there, but it's not on the engine. We need to figure out what's going on with the electronics in this car. That is the main thing. I'll show you what's going on here. Alright, so I think he has wired everything in, but I put a picture of this on a Facebook group the other day, asking, does anyone know about these? Because there's a group of people on Facebook who do engine swap this engine into various Polos and Golfs and things. So I put a message out and said, does anyone know why this wouldn't start, and ECUs and stuff like this? And I got a message saying that this apparently is the wrong ECU, this one in here, and I got a link to buy the right one. So I bought that. That's in the van, and I've had to buy an emulator for a mobilizer for the new ECU. So that should pretend that it's all authorized and working. So we need to get that in. I need to check over all of this wiring to see how well it's all done. But it looks like he did a pretty good job. I think. I can't believe he went to all this effort and this thing never ran. It must have ran at some point. I don't know. It's very strange. But the next thing we need to do as well is this alternator is loose on here. It is plugged in. It is wired in. So we need to find out how to tighten that up. Get a battery in it. And just see what happens. Because I don't know if this engine turns over. Because that's the main thing. The engine could be knackered. So I probably should have done that before I bought all the electronics. Oh well. Let's get that alternator belt on, a battery in it, and just see what happens if we turn the key. Alright, so I need to make a little bracket that can go down in here to attach that basically in there. Just found this thick bit of metal. Gonna cut that down, put a couple holes in it, and that should do it, I reckon. Alright, so I've managed to get the alternator sort of solidly mounted. It's not quite tight enough. I need to make a little bit of an adjustment, but it should be fine for now. I've got the right ECU, but I just want to see what happens if I do put a battery in at the moment. See if this thing's wired up, if there's power going to this engine at all, but yeah. Alright, yeah, let's put a battery on it. Let's turn the key and see if it does anything. Well, it turned over. That's a start, I think. Alright, so the engine seems to turn over. That's promising. Alright, so apparently this is the correct ECU for the car. I think I'm going to need to put an emulator in to turn the immobiliser off, but I'm going to just plug it in and see what happens first. Because, well, why not? I don't really know where the emulator goes or how it wired up yet, so I've got to figure that one out. But see what happens if I plug it in. It goes that way. Alright, I'll show you where I'm at with this at the moment. I'm kind of struggling. Electronics is really not my thing. Give me a carburetor any day of the week, but not an ECU. I don't really understand it. So I've put the correct ECU in here. Apparently it's the correct ECU. And I've put the absolute mess of spaghetti of wires from the old Polo, not well, the new, technically the newer Polo, in here. It's not very pretty, but what I'm having at the moment is I turn the ignition on the car. The ignition comes on the new engine dash. That tells me I've got beeping at me because I've got oil problems and stuff. The mileage was 113,000 as well. It's quite a lot. And then when I started up, I got wired up a fuel pump. The ECU's everything wired up. It starts. It's a bit ticky as well, but it turns off. And it does that every time, and I don't know if my fuel pump's just not strong enough.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I think I've solved the issue with it cutting out. It was fuel pressure, because if I've got this, I mean, this is a bit way overkill. This is like an oil pump. I did clean it. I flushed it all through first. But this is a quite powerful oil pump. And if I turn this on, it's very noisy. But then if I start it, it stays running. And also, I need to get a better pump. The ticking is bad. I'm gonna have to delve into this. Also, I need to go and sort out what wires I need to keep from here and what wires I need to lose. I know this looks like I'm putting power to all the grounds. I'm not. This is I've actually got this on Earth, but this is real. Everything's such a bodge. This is not. I find this stuff so difficult. But yeah, so I don't think I'm going to need any of this. I could probably wire up the temperature switch to that temperature in that one. The fuel gauge I've already got over there. It goes to the fuel tank. Speedo runs off one of the wheels, I think, if this is anything like or any other old Volkswagen I've worked on. And rev counter, I haven't actually got one, so I've just got a big clock over there. So don't think the only thing I need to know about this is warning lights, oil pressure, that sort of stuff. But this will have that too. If there must be, I'll figure that out and wire that up. But the biggest thing I have at the moment is I need a new fuel pump and the ticking. The ticking is bad. I don't know if it's just a lifter, because I don't know how long this thing's been sitting for. I haven't even checked the cam belt, but it sounds like it's coming from sort of this area. It's quite hard to determine. If anyone knows anything about these tickings, please let me know. I'm going to look into it in a minute, but yeah, please let me know. If this is a common thing on this engine and it's something simple, that would be lovely. But if it's like absolutely destroyed, then we're going to have to think of a different option here. Alright, I'm slowly getting somewhere with this. I've had to put a new fuel pump in. This is like just a cheap version of like Bosch's standard injection pump. That needs to go down under the car, really, because they're not very good at priming these pumps. So if the fuel ends up going back to the tank, it won't be able to pick it back up. But so they need to be sort of straight out of the back of the tank. But it's just for testing purposes, and I couldn't be bothered to go under the car right now. But yeah, that's in. It does run. I put this fan in, and it was wired up to the switch to trigger it when it gets to the right temperature. I have run it for a little bit. It got pretty hot, but the fan never came on. I haven't actually got a gauge wired up. That's why there's wires everywhere. But yeah, I'll show you what it sounds like. There's this is just a huge mess in here. Yeah, that gauge is working. Those dials are working, but they don't do anything. So you can hear it sort of sounds a bit like a diesel. Still not right. Yeah, definitely some sort of rattle coming from. Sounds like the top end, I think. But I think it's running okay. There's a bit of smoke. A little bit of smoke coming out the back, but not too much. And quite a bit of water coming out the back here. I assume it's just steam. Assume that's just steam. The revs sort of hold for a bit and then drop. I think maybe I've got a bit of an air leak somewhere. I'm not terribly happy with this fan setup. As you can see here, I've had to sort of morph it's just hit it with a hammer, the shroud so it doesn't touch the exhaust, but that shroud is getting pretty hot. The best thing I'm going to do here, I think I'm going to put a pusher fan from this side, so it's pushing, because there's loads of space behind this radiator. There's loads of space, so I can definitely get a pusher fan in there, and then maybe we can wrap the exhaust in something to stop it from getting so hot. But before I delve into this anymore, I know my wiring's very, very rough at the moment, but that's just to see if the engine works. And now we have seen that the engine does start and run, but I need to find out what this tapping noise is, because if this is like something terminal in this engine, then there's not much point in carrying on. So I think what I'm going to have to do next is basically take this rocker cover off, and it sounds like it's like here, but I don't really know what I'm going to be able to see from there. I assume these are hydraulic tappets. I'm saying this, I'll find out in a minute when I pull this off. And we just got to see what's rattling, basically, because if that can be fixed, if the rattle can be fixed, then I'm go all in and sort this out. If it's like terminal and I've got to rebuild the engine, then I'm not sure. I might just sell it on to someone and say, look, it runs and drives. Well, we haven't driven it yet, but it runs and the engine needs a rebuild. Let's take this head off. Not head. Let's take this rocker cover off and see what we've got going on under there. I'm not sure how this camshaft works and everything, but we'll find out in a second. I think this has to be one of the filthiest camshaft assembly bits I've ever seen. It's so gummed up in here, and I have a feeling all this rubbish has just gone into the lifters and they're not pumping up anymore. So it definitely got quieter the more I ran it, but I think I'm going to take these camshafts out, take these lifters out, and just, I think if you whack them with a soft hammer, you can sort of get all the crap out of them. I reckon they're all gummed up. But yeah, I think we're going to take these camshafts out. I mean, this is just filthy. I pulled a massive chunk of something out of here a minute ago. Yeah, this. Don't know what that is. That was just sitting in there. So this needs a good clean. Alright, the cam belt is off. I'm not going to lie, that's probably taken me about a full day to try and get that off. I'm not sure why. It was just like the bolt in the middle, this bolt down here. This was so tight. Someone had done it up. I obviously know it has to be quite tight, but geez, that took some hard work to get that off. And also, this tensioner over here, the nut wouldn't come off. The whole stud came out, and to me that doesn't look like the right kind of stud. Like, why would that be threaded the whole way down? I'm not sure if this car's, someone's gone at it. I mean, I don't know why that nut wouldn't come off either. That was just, everything was so tight. And one thing I want to ask anyone watching, if anyone knows anything about these engines, because I honestly don't have a clue. I've got this timed up to where it's supposed to be. You can barely see it there. Sort of that, you can see a faint line of some red pen from someone else. Basically that is lined up with that mark on the housing there. It's lined up with that tooth, which I'm pretty sure is the only tooth that's different to the rest of them, so I assume that's the mark. That's lined up. And these are apparently supposed to line up, these little dots in here together. But are they supposed to line up here, or do you reckon they're supposed to line up further up here? So that's looking at it dead straight. I feel like they should be up there, in line with the head. But I'm not sure. If anyone has done one of these before and they know that they are not up here, they're down underneath the flatness. So I would assume that they would just be parallel with the head, but they're sort of not. They're a bit lower. Yeah, let me know if that isn't right. But next step on this is to pull off these camshafts, and because when I put them back on, I don't know where I'm going to be putting them, because I assume they just line up together in the middle, but at the moment they're not. So a bit worried about that. But yeah, next step is pull the camshafts out and clean out all the buckets, the lifters, clean out this top of this head. I hope, fingers crossed, everything's alright. Got to get a new tensioner, obviously, and tension a bolt if we can. Apart from that, everything should be okay. Alright, I actually reckon I'm going to leave the rest of this engine build for the next video. You're going to have to follow the build if you want to see if I can stop this thing from ticking. The main reason I want to end there is actually because I'm hoping that someone gives me a decent bit of feedback on these, basically these camshafts, because I need to know where I'm putting them back, and there's limited information online about these that I can find. There is a Facebook group with people swapping these engines into these cars, but I can barely find anything out online about it. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong place, or I'm searching the wrong thing. Maybe I am. Probably am. But yeah. But in this video, I mean, we got the thing running, which is pretty impressive. I never actually mentioned how much this car was. I bought this off Facebook Marketplace for £500, and I've spent, I think the ECU was £85 or something, and the emulator was 20. That's to turn off the immobilizer, and I think the fuel pump was 20 as well. So I spent about 120 quid in it. So far I'm 620 quid into this car, and it's still not running right. So let me know if you think I got a good deal on this, because I'm not so sure at the moment. We also need to decide how many of these wires we need to keep and how many we don't. I'm not going to implement the old dashboard. I don't think I'm going to need that. We need to decide how many wires we're keeping there. We need to tidy up sort of this mess of ECU wires and stuff going on down here. Get this engine sorted, running well, and then fingers crossed, in the next video we can actually drive this thing. I'm really looking forward to driving it. You heard it, like when it revs up like so quick. I have a feeling it's going to be a bit of a sleeper, to be honest. If you want to follow this build and see how it turns out, and when I get it running and driving, I'll probably end up selling it. So if anyone's interested in buying it after that, let me know. But yeah, if you want to follow this, stay tuned for the next one. Also, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be painting this. I did suggest black to everyone, and everyone said paint it blue, the original colour. I have the original colour, so that's probably what we're going to do. We're going to paint this front end blue first. It's not going to be a perfect job because it's just a work van for me at the moment, and I'm not really, it's got 250,000 miles and it's really not worth me putting loads of money into, but I would love to do the front end if it came up cheap enough. Unfortunately, it's about £1,000 I think for the front end kit, which is quite a lot, I think. I'm going to have to be doing that basically out here. Like today is actually quite a nice day for painting, but it's just a bit cold, so we're just waiting for the weather on that one, and that is happening. And I've got my eye out for what's happening with the camper conversion. I've got my eyes peeled, waiting for the thing that's going to make that happen, and it will happen, I'm sure. So stay tuned for that one.